Hey guys, Skyson Freeman here. I want to talk a little bit about the Nintendo Switch Lite. Now, I have regular Switch. I think a lot of people have a regular Switch at this point. Who doesn't really? Pretty much everyone I've met has a regular Switch. But now we have the Switch Lite, and there's some things I want to talk about with this because while it can be a good idea, and I can see why Nintendo's doing this, they've done this in the past. The problem I have with it is that Nintendo's going back and they're doing this thing again where they severely limit the options for the consumer for a cheaper price and for a more convenient experience or a more streamlined experience or whatever they want to call it. And I'm just going to talk about that a little bit. So first thing that it reminded me of actually was not the 2DS, because a lot of people said the 2DS, but it actually reminded me of the DSi. Now, the DSi did have more features. It had a camera, it had DSi where it had things like that. But what annoyed me about it was they removed the Game Boy Advance slot. And with that made me go, okay, well, it's not backwards compatible with Game Boy Advance. I get that they wanted to get rid of that. But there were peripherals and things like that that did use it that you now could not use if you, unless you had a DS Lite or a regular DS. So that always annoyed me with the DSi. I never got a DSi. I never got a DSi XL. And a lot of people then, they jump and they say, okay, well, this reminds me of the 2DS. Now, the 2DS... not so much, because at least with the 2DS, it was pretty much the same thing. You could do all the same things on the 2DS. You could, the only thing you couldn't do is you couldn't close it, and I don't think there was back cameras, there was a front camera, and that was pretty much it. As far as like the actual games go, you could pretty much play all the same games you could play on a 3DS, just without the 3D function, which I see the functions different from actually being able to play games a certain, the best way possible. Now you have games like Mario Party, and I forget what the other one was that they use as an example, but you can't play those on the Switch Lite. That's not good. I do not like when you limit the options of the consumer, of what they can play, of what they can do on it. Kind of differs, but what they can actually play on it, that's a huge problem for me. Now, that's different than making the new 3DS and saying, okay, well, now we have games exclusive to the new 3DS. That's different. That's new hardware. That's new software. The old stuff, it would be great if there was a way to play it on both, but you don't need to. And if you want to buy something like that, it's better. I'd rather have a new 3DS, which I do have, a new 3DS XL. And, that's the end of the rope there. You can't really get much better than that. So, unless you want a regular new 3DS, which, is fine. But now we get to the Switch Lite, and I'm just kind of going over a little thing here just to kind of refresh my memory over the little, different changes. Okay, well, it's smaller, for one, and it's handheld only, which... Here's the thing about the Nintendo Switch. I use it a lot undocked. I don't use it a lot handheld. What I do is I use the kickstand thing in the back, and I pull the Joy-Cons out and either put it in the controller dock, which I have right here, or I play it Joy-Con separate. Now, that's my preferred way to play it when I'm not playing it on television. And... I'm not sure how it will feel in your hands if it's lighter. I don't like playing the Switch in handheld mode, especially for games like Smash Brothers. It's really I kind of feel like I'm fighting with it a little bit, but if I'm playing it on a light, it'll feel a bit better, maybe. But it's not that much smaller. It's only about... if you have a regular Switch and you take one of the Joy-Con lengths away from it, that's about how big it is. It's a little bit shorter. Now, they say, oh, you can fit it in your pocket, which is bullshit unless you have giant pockets. So, I mean, I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at someone holding it. There's no way I could fit that in my pocket. Honestly, I could probably fit the Joy-Con separately and the regular Switch thing in my pockets better than I could a Switch Lite. So that's kind of a stupid thing. It's $100 cheaper Sure, but I really wish it would have been a case where the problem I have with this is if you need Joy-Cons for whatever reason, Joy-Cons are like $80, and that already is going to bump up how much you have. For that amount of money, you might as well just buy a regular Switch. I don't understand why you would buy a Switch Mini, except for a couple reasons, but I'll get to those. Especially if it's only $100 cheaper. If it was half the price, that would be a really, really, that would be really, that would be kind of a better selling point. But at the same time, I wish that Nintendo would have rather made a Switch Pro instead of a Switch Lite, but that's kind of, did I call it the Switch Mini earlier? I don't know, than the Switch Lite. But, okay, so we've got the portability factor people are going over, and they're talking about the colors of it, just as a minor aside. I do like the blue one. I have to say, the blue one actually does look pretty nice. I'm a sucker for blue consoles. I got my PSP over there, which is like I think it's turquoise blue. It's really nice. It's not the Hatsune Miku version. It's the one that looks like it, but it doesn't have the actual stuff all over the back. But I love that thing. Side note. Well, another thing is the D-pad. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest. There's a couple reasons I get it, but I never understood why people were so obsessed over D-pads in this day and age. The only reason, really, and correct me if I'm wrong, and because, maybe I'm not playing games that use D-pads or something like that, but I've never had to use a D-pad since probably the PlayStation 1. No, actually, I did have to use the D-pad on the Dreamcast, but that was because the game I was playing had really shitty inputs on the joystick, so I just used the D-pad and that worked better. But I only use the D-pad for virtual console games. That's the only reason I can see to use it like that. If you want to use it for virtual console games, then I guess that's fine. But it never really bothered me that much that the D-pad was such a huge thing where people freak out. Oh my god, this thing's got a shitty joint. It's got a shitty D-pad. It's like, all right, whatever. Now the battery life, you get like an hour, an extra hour out of it, better. Which, fine, I guess if it's gonna be portable, whatever. Now the problem is you don't have the TV option, which sucks. Now, if you really just want to use it handheld and you really don't care for TV input and that's really not, it really doesn't matter to you, then fine, I can see how that's not an issue. For me, I like having the better resolution output, being able to play on HDMI, being able to play on my TV. It just looks better, it feels right, feels more like a console, of course. If you want to use it as the next step in the DS line, Game Boy line, whatever, if that's how you view it, great. And like I mentioned, the screen on handheld mode is not the best way to be playing it. It's going to be downgraded. The resolution's not going to be good. You're going to be deadlocked at, excuse me, you're going to be deadlocked at certain frame rates, resolutions. It's not going to be able to get better. And that's just, I don't like that. I look at things, some games look fine, but then you look at them on output and it's just a night and day difference. It looks so much better. So that's unfortunate. And another thing is the motion controls. Anything that uses motion controls, you can't, you can't use it for, which this is one of the problems I have with it, because not only does it take away your option for motion controls, it takes away the option for Nintendo to go and make games that have motion controls later, because they don't want to alienate the Switch Lite audience. So we won't be getting a game like maybe Mario Galaxy 3 where you're going to have to spin the Joy-Con to actually make Mario spin or something like that. So that's unfortunate. That basically goes, all right, we have this gimmick that we can use, but now we can't use it because we've alienated this much percent of our audience who has a Switch Lite exclusively. And you can tell them, well, you can't play this game, but they're going to want to play the game. They're going to get mad. The consumers are going to be pissed off, and the parents are going to be like, well, I bought this piece of shit for my kid, and now we can't play this one game, and so, and you got that kind of shit to deal with. So maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they will use it. Maybe some smaller games will use it or something. but I don't think any big titles are going to be using it. And I believe that means, you know, you're not going to have the 3D rumble, you're not going to have the little IR thing or whatever the heck it is on the bottom of the right Joy-Con, and stuff like that. Now, as far as who's going to be buying this, there is a way where I believe you can pair your, you can run a regular Switch and a Switch Mini or a Switch Lite off of the same Nintendo Network account and download the games to that, and you can play it. I believe you can play it simultaneously, or you can have the same games on one and the other, and I believe that's it. So you can have like if you want to use the Switch Lite for a dedicated handheld Switch, I think that's a good idea if that is something that is appealing to you. If that actually is something that you would use, something that's functional for you, that makes sense. I get that. And also, I would say younger siblings, where if they want to Switch, but their older sibling has the main Switch and they have games on it and things like that, if they want to get one for their younger brother, sister, whatever, you know, they can give it to them, they can download some of the games on it, and then they're good to go. They're out of your hair. They're not asking for your Switch. Other than that, I really don't see a reason for anyone to get it, you know, besides, you know, for what it's used for on the surface. Basically, the only way I can recommend it is if you already have a Switch and can use it for the other, you know, reasons you would use it for if you have a regular Switch already. I don't see anyone reasonably buying this as the only Switch they have. Maybe if they really don't care about motion controls or games that use motion controls, they really don't care about TV output. But that, I feel like that's such a small audience because there's so many things that you can do with it that you just can't do with the Switch Lite. And I feel like people are going to be alienated by that. They're not going to see the monetary value in it. And, you know, if they're going to buy Joy-Cons anyway, the $20 they're not spending, is that worth it to have a less functional unit altogether? I don't think so. But anyway, that's really all I have to say about the Switch Lite. Check all the links down below. Share this video around if you liked it. Subscribe. I'm trying to, of course, gain an audience on here doing this kind of stuff every day. Hit the like button, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to sound like I'm whoring myself out, but this is my first go at this. I'm trying to build a thing. So if you guys want, just stick around, keep watching. And it's been fun. Later, guys.